Faldo is an excellent player, but for a good player, it's not necessarily that they can present the feel or their method totally clear. In this case, Faldo is trying to present, how to fix a slide, but it's very difficult for him to translate his feel or method totally. Let's have a look at the video.
Very quietly, the dreaded over the top with the driver, resulting in going hard left into the left trees or a big slice into the right trees. And let me get the reasons why I think that happens. Number one, we're very right side dominant, very strong there. A lot of players put their thumb on top of the grip, so it becomes a bit like a hammer blow. You turn and everything comes down together. There's no separation here.
Right, let's go back and have a look at what he said.
And everything comes down together. There's no separation here.
He said no separation there.
Together, there's no separation here.
He said, listen to that again.
And everything comes down together. There's no separation here.
In fact, he was pointing at his right wrist, saying that there is no separation here. That means I reckon in his translation what he meant is people is not actually start to release, it's not actually release, it's start to accelerate the club early enough, because if there is no separation there, that means the wrist is still bending. They're maintaining the bend all the way down in order, as a result they're having some kind of over the top issues. Let's look at it again.
You turn and everything comes down together. There's no separation here. You come over top. So let me hit one and see if I can produce an over the top swing. Inside and over and big slice. So let's check the numbers on that first.
If you look at it, if you're hitting a shot, with over the top, the distance is around 222 for a tour player.
So I've got a couple of tips to help you on that. Number one, just take your grip, hold the club above the ground. Now take your left hand off and put it in its original position. Now make a...
Let's go back a little bit. When he mentioned about the...
let me hit one and...
before that.
Grip, so it becomes a bit like... there. A lot of players put their thumb on top of the grip, so it becomes...
He said a lot of players put the thumb on the grip. That means there's no flexibility between the club and the palm, which is the bit I mentioned about the coupling point, because you're actually fixing the club to your palm.
A bit like a hammer blow. You turn and everything comes down together. There's no separation here. You come over...
He said that there is no separation there. That means the club is not accelerate early enough. Start from the transition at the start down.
So let me hit one.
Okay, let me forward that a little bit, because I don't want to go through that the demo shot there.
Slice.
A big slice.
The number on that first. So I've got a couple of tips to help you on that. Number one, just take your grip, hold the club above the ground. Now take your left hand off and put it in its original position. Now make a backswing just with your right hand. Now return it to your left hand and see how this angle from the right hand to right shoulder gets bigger all the way down. If you hung on to it your old way, you will be above it.
Right, see that bit there?
Right hand to right shoulder gets bigger all the way.
You said, listen to it again.
Now return it to your left hand and see how this angle from the right hand to right shoulder gets bigger all the way.
He said, he actually addressed to the right hand and the right shoulder, which is, he's talking about the player is not releasing the club. Shall I not use the word of releasing? Not extending the angle between the right wrist and the right forearm. Look, let's listen to it again.
Right hand. Now return it to your left hand.
And also have a look at the way when he starts to release the club with one hand. That is, by looking at this video, is his actual thoughts in mind.
Just with your right hand. Now return it to...
See that the time when he is actually pulling the club down, the club is start accelerating rather than he's actually holding on to the club. If you look at all these tiny little bit stuff, you know, let's have a look at it again.
Your grip, hold the club above the ground.
Okay, sorry about that.
I've got a couple of tips to help you on that. Number one, just take your grip, hold the club above the ground. Now take your left hand off and put it in its original position. Now make a backswing just with your right hand. Now return it to your left.
See that the time when he's coming down, he's not holding on to that, you know, what people normally say the power angle. He start accelerating the club.
See how this angle from the right hand to right shoulder gets bigger.
He said that angle between the right hand and right shoulder got bigger. That means you should start to accelerate the club as soon as possible, in a sense of you do not hold on to the angle. You start to release the angle as soon as the start down.
If you hung on to it your old way, you will be above it. So that's not.
So if you sort of hold on to that angle, what's going to happen? You will get some kind of outside to inside swing pattern.
One, and number two is when you make that swing like so, to go over the top, your left shoulder goes very low and you go over the top. Yeah.
So what he meant is sort of if you hold on to the club, not releasing that angle, then very likely you're getting outside or inside, because the whole thing is coming down in one. The whole thing is actually synchronized. The body and the hand is synchronized. You know, is actually coming down at the same time. This is what I'm saying is, you know, on a downswing, what you need is you've got to accelerate the club as soon as possible. The terms which I'm using about acceleration is you're releasing the angle between your forearm and the wrist, that angle, as Faldo is saying. Normally, for most of a good player, they will just if they are running a clinic, what they normally do is they just sort of, you know, use the basic terms of, you know, starting the start down with the low body. But I quite like this one because I look at it a couple of times. He actually pinpoint most of the important things within a golf swing, except he's actually addressing the right wrist. But I would look at the bits about a pivot of the club, which is the coupling point. You should start releasing that angle in relation to the coupling point.
So now I want you to try and let the left shoulder go to the sky a little bit more. Now you can see automatically it's dropped it more.
I'm not sure about that, because all of them will just happen automatically.
Inside,
and he's just talking about the reality of the swing, not the method.
Chance now to release on the in to out. So
and if you look at this bit carefully, it's quite interesting.
Inside, and I've got a chance.
Look at his hand, the way he plays his hand. He's actually moving the club, not swinging the club to the left, okay, not to the right. A lot of the golfing machine people, they believe, you know, they should swing right. You know, as Mr. Homer Kelly was mentioned in the book, you know, you should have you feel like you're delivering the shot to the right view. But if you look at Faldo's again, Look at the hand.
More, now you can see automatically it's dropped it more inside, and I've got a chance now to
That's his fault. He's actually taking the club to the left.
release on the in to out. So I'll add both of those. I'll give it some good release with the right arm, and I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder.
He mentioned he's giving a good release to the right arm. That means he's actually talking about you should start to release that angle as soon as possible. And as you know, that a lot of golf ball was saying that you should hold on to the right elbow, to create a power angle. You do not release the club, not until the club get to parallel. And as you can see, this is how Faldo is playing his shot.
And I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder going straight up.
Brilliant backswing. If you look at the backswing, do not he never look at the backswing again.
And I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder going straight up.
That's his maximum. Look at where his right elbow is. That was the maximum of the backswing. Let's look at it again.
And I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder going straight up.
Let's look at it again.
In to out. So I'll add both of those. I'll give it some good release with the right arm, and I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder going straight up. Release with the right arm, and I'll give it some little bit of left shoulder going straight up.
That's his backswing. It's not a lot, is it? Very nice.
And that produces a little into out swing. Let's look at those numbers. As you can see,
well, that's different. 220 something, 262. Brilliant. This is all I want to talk about when you should be releasing. I'm not saying that it's actually releasing the club, but I would use the word of accelerate the club. And there is a lot of people believe that they should hold on the club till to the parallel level before they start to release the wrist angle in order to gain maximum power. I think this is not right. This is why I show you this video. It's quite a good educational video there. Thank you.